Hello and welcome back to another Doctor Who ratings analysis video. Or should I say, Merry Christmas, because in this particular video I'm going to have a look at the viewing figures for all the episodes of Doctor Who broadcast on Christmas Day, and that takes us from 1965 through to the Church on Ruby Road in 2023. So, where to start? Well, way back in 1965, an episode of the Daleks Master Plan, The Feast of Stephen, was broadcast on Christmas Day in 1965. And of course, for viewing figures, we only have the number of people that watched it on transmission, and that was 7.9 million people. It was quite a long wait until 2005 before we got the next Doctor Who episode to be broadcast on Christmas Day. And that was The Christmas Invasion, David Tennant's first full episode as the 10th Doctor. And overnight that got a rating of 9.4 million. Over 7 days, that went up slightly to 9.84 million. This then became a regular occurrence. So Doctor Who on Christmas Day has continued from 2005 onwards. So in 2006, we had The Runaway Bride with Catherine Tate as Donna Noble, and overnight that got slightly less at 8.7 million. Over 7 days it went up to 9.38 million. The following year, 2007, Kylie Minogue as Astrid Peth in Voyage of the Damned. That drew in a massive 12.2 million viewers overnight, with a 7-day number of 13.31 million. The following year, 2008, The Next Doctor, speculation because we all knew that David Tennant was leaving. That led to a viewing figure overnight of 11.7 million and a plus 7 of 13.1 million. The following year, David Tennant did start to leave, so part 1 of The End of Time got exactly 10 million overnight and a plus 7 rating of 12.04 million. So you can see how catch-up services are now starting to increase. So the gap between our overnight and plus 7 day is starting to widen. The following year, Matt Smith's first Christmas special as the 11th Doctor, A Christmas Carol, that got 10.3 million. So an increase on the first part of David Tennant's departure episode. So 10.3 overnight and 12.11 million, so an increase in our Christmas Day numbers from David Tennant to Matt Smith. The following year, The Doctor, the Widow and the Wardrobe, that got 8.9 million, so a bit of a drop for The Doctor, Widow and the Wardrobe. 8.9 million overnight and 10.77 million over 7 days. Following that, we had The Snowmen and the introduction of Jenna Coleman as Clara Oswald proper, and that got a overnight figure of 7.59 million and a plus 7 day of 9.87. So we're starting to see a decline. The run of Christmas Day episodes has certainly hit its peak, and now we're seeing a slight reduction over from year to year. Finally, 2013, we've got The Time of the Doctor, Matt Smith's final episode, and that sees a bump in the ratings, 8.29 million overnight and 11.14 million, so quite a big jump from overnight to 7 day for the departure of Matt Smith's 11th Doctor. Now, the rest of this list continues because we have plus 28 days. So last Christmas, Peter Capaldi's first Christmas special as the 12th Doctor was the first episode where we now get plus 28 day ratings. So people have watched the episode live on transmission or have caught up over the following 28 days. So our overnight was 6.34 million, plus 7, 8.28, and our 28 day figure 8.55 million. Following that, we had The Husbands of River Song. That got us an overnight of 5.77 million, a plus 7 of 7.69 million, and a plus 28 of just under 8 million at 7.97 million. The Return of Doctor Mysterio in 2016, that got 5.68 million, plus 7 of 7.83 million, and a plus 28 day of 8.22 million. Now, remember at this time, sort of 2015, 2016, there wasn't really a series of Doctor Who in 2016. So it was The Husbands of River Song, and we had to wait a whole year before the next episode, which was The Return of Dr. Mysterio, before we went into Peter Capaldi's final series, which culminated in the 2017 Christmas special, Twice Upon a Time, where the 12th Doctor regenerated. 5.66 million tuned in to watch that live. Plus 7 figure was 7.92, so an increase on the Return of Dr. Mysterio. And our plus 28, 8.28 million, so again up on the previous 2 Christmas specials. Now, obviously, we had quite a gap because with Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, we moved to a New Year's Day special slot. And so it's been quite a gap between 2017 and 2023 for Doctor Who to reappear in the Christmas Day schedules. And Ncuti Gatwa's first full episode as the Doctor, overnight that got 4.73 million. Our plus 7 was 7.49 million. So again, quite a healthy growth from overnight to plus 7. And then our plus 28 was exactly 8 million. You might have seen a number slightly higher than that reported elsewhere, but officially the plus 28 day number was 8 million viewers. So in graphical terms, as we do on this channel, that's what all those numbers look like. So we start with the Feast of Stephen, just putting it in there because it was on Christmas Day. And we saw how interest in the first Doctor Who Christmas special saw a good number of 9.4, 9.84. And then slight decline before hitting our peaks, Voyage of the Damned, The Next Doctor, and The End of Time, as you can see with The End of Time Part 1, how that gap between our blue line, our overnight figure, and our plus 7 is starting to widen as catch-up services become more frequently used and more common. We see an increase from The End of Time to A Christmas Carol, and then slight decline for the next 2 Matt Smith Christmas specials before perking back up again for his departure in The Time of the Doctor, and then we see a downward trend which takes us up to The Church on Ruby Road. The green line, as you can see, is our plus 28 days, so it's only a negligible amount that we see increases from our plus 7 to plus 28 days, but we have included them for completionist sake. So you can see how our peak was certainly Voyage of the Damned with Kylie Minogue, and interest tends to be when there are new Doctors or departing Doctors. Unfortunately, that exception is The Church on Ruby Road, which so far has the lowest plus 7 overnights, but fortunately not the plus 28. The plus 28 is of 8 million is slightly higher than the Husbands of River Song managed, but yeah, overall a sort of maintenance of around about 8 million viewers. So to break that down even further, so this is our overnight, so you can see how things sort of increased for David Tennant's, started to drop down a little bit for Matt Smith. That drop continued for Peter Capaldi's era, unfortunately, until we get to The Church on Ruby Road. So you can see how Doctor Who on Christmas Day has become more commonplace and therefore less must-watch, shall we say. However, this is our overnight share. Now, we always try and include this particular statistic because it gives a reflection of the overall audience. So we obviously don't have those figures for the Feast of Stephen. But starting with the Christmas Invasion, 42% of the available television audience watched Doctor Who on Christmas Day. And that increased to 50 and 50.5% for Voyage of the Damned and The Next Doctor. So of all the television sets in the United Kingdom that were turned on, half were watching BBC One and Doctor Who, which is massive, enormous. But you can see how that percentage starts to drop off in line with our viewing figure numbers. But unlike the viewing figure numbers, the church on Ruby Road is seeing an increase. So our previous low of 27.1% for the return of Dr. Mysterio, we've now seen an increase in our Christmas Day overnight share to 33.4%. So we're back up to, mid Matt Smith era in terms of the percentage of the audience or available audience who are tuning in to watch Doctor Who live. So that is a good positive for the church on Ruby Road. Back to our +7 ratings. So again, following this trend of good interest for David Tennant's third and fourth Christmas specials. So the Voyage of the Damned, Next Doctor continuing down. Time of the Doctor showed an increased interest because it's a regeneration episode, and then that deterioration continues down to the Church on Ruby Road, which is our lowest +7 rating at 7.49. But again, on the flip side of this, the +7 share has increased quite a bit. So again, that peak, 41.1% for the Church on Ruby Road, is back up to where it beats all of Matt Smith, it beats all of Peter Capaldi's era. It's just behind A Christmas Carol at 41.8%. So interesting how the +7 share, so this is the percentage of all the people that could possibly be watching television over 7 days, 41.1% are actually watching Doctor Who and have watched the Church on Ruby Road. So a really strong number, and that's beating other so-called heavyweights, the Runaway Bride and the Time of the Doctor, and regeneration episode for the Time of the Doctor, Runaway Bride, The End of Time Part 1 is slightly higher, 44.7, but it's in the same ballpark. So again, the percentage shares are telling a slightly different story to what the raw numbers do. And just our 7-day chart positions. So again, another bit of data we try to include. So peak of The End of Time Part 1, getting first in our 7-day chart. Voyage of the Damned, Next Doctor, second. Doctor Widow Wardrobe, Time of the Doctor, placing third. All really good, solid chart positions. But the Church on Ruby Road is back up high in the chart. So from that sort of lull with the Peter Capaldi era, 7th, 8th, 9th and 9th, we're back up to third spot in the chart. So again, a good strong showing in terms of the 7-day chart positions. And again, just for completionist sake, this is the variation of our +28-day ratings. So we only have from Last Christmas to the Church on Ruby Road, and again, not quite as high as Last Christmas, but we're around about the 8.2 million mark for the last 4 Christmas specials, from The Husbands of River Song through to the Church on Ruby Road, which is quite a few years. So a good bit of consistency. Okay, so finally, let's round this all up. Christmas Day episode averages. So the average overnight rating for a Doctor Who episode on Christmas Day is 8.21 million. The +7 day rating on average is 10.06 million. That average obviously doesn't include the Feast of Stephen, because we only have an overnight rating or transmission rating for that number. So our +28 day rating, similarly, again, only from Last Christmas through to the Church on Ruby Road, averaging at 8.2 million. So again, fairly consistent numbers as you saw in the previous graph. Our overnight share is about 36.3%, and there's quite a lot of variability in that, but 36.3% is pretty strong. Our +7, 39.6, and our +7 chart is 6th. So pretty good overall. So Doctor Who on Christmas Day is a ratings winner over the years. Thank you for watching. I hope you found that interesting. If you did like the video, give it a thumbs up. Feel free to share, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next ratings analysis video. But in the meantime, thank you for watching, Merry Christmas in July.